Alright, YouTube, at some point I will get tired of all these intros, but that is not the time right now. So another Hidden Cup 4 series on round of 64, this time Project Belgium versus Komtan. Komtan, one of the better Japanese players, I believe, and Project Belgium, the favorite to win this series, the best Belgian player. He is typically the player that is extremely strong in small to mid-sized tournaments, so as long as there is no experts playing, Project Belgium is always a candidate to win a smaller or medium-sized tournament. But when it's experts on the board as well, he's more like the bottom of the pile. Um, because I think what Project Belgium is a very, very good overall player, but he's not exceptional in anything. So expert players that are just slightly better at everything will just beat him anyways. That being said, he's still young and he's still a very talented player, so we'll be looking forward to what he can do in this tournament. Now, the thing is that the players haven't posted a map draft. That is something that is quite unfortunate. So, we don't know what the maps are going to be. But we know the civilizations, and the fact that we have Italians banned from Project Belgium makes me feel like we are going to have islands in here, because that's the only place where you would just flat out ban Italians. Project Belgium will be playing with Vikings, Chinese, Tatars, Portuguese, Berbers, Malians, versus Huns, Japanese, Persians, Celts, Franks, and Britons from Komtan. And the Komtan actually managed to get Mayans very, very late over here. That's a huge steal from him, but it was sniped anyways by Project Belgium. Lithuanians will be on Project Belgium's Civ selection that he will be unable to use because Komtan sniped it. I don't know the exact seeds, but I would imagine something like seed 15, 20 for Project Belgium versus seed 50, 45-ish for Komtan. That seems likely. And I will ride along with that and say that Project Belgium is probably going to have a free one advantage over here. And that allows us to go into the first game over here. So welcome to Arabia. Project Belgium will be playing his usual orange color. That's something that I discussed, I think, one of the casts I had with Twitch, is that many players use a certain color that they just love to play in, and they always play with that, like Viper with yellow, for example. Project Belgium is also one of those. He just loves to play with orange, so that's his standard Bagum color. That's basically the color that he always goes for. Anyways, other side will be Komtan playing in blue as Franks. I don't know much about Komtan. He's sort of the under-the-radar player. He's good, but it's not like he has been flashing anything of that in tournaments. The only tournament I remember that he played in was Empire Wars Duo, which probably I just remember him because that was a tournament I hosted. It was a 2v2 Empire Wars tournament. And he played with another teammate, but I think they lost in the first round because we had a lot of high-level teams over there. And I think they got one of the top teams, so something like Vietnam or something like AM Gamer Legion, something like that. And they lost over there. So that's the only memories I have about Compton. Don't know much about him. I think he's pretty active on AoE Zone though, so that is something that is still admirable. Anyways, he's going to lame 2 sheep over here from Project Belgium right away, and he was looking for a lot of laming potential. Like, he's been running around Project Belgium's base for quite a while, and he will actually be able to take away 2 sheep. He will not be able to send them home, even though he could technically attempt to, but it seems like he just wants to make sure Project Belgium doesn't have them. Other side, Compton, we will talk about the bases in a brief moment, and as I said, for time conservation reasons, as the round of 32 is getting closer and closer, we will be speeding through Dark Ages because they're quite unlikely to yield us any major notable moments. We might see some small scouts fights, and it seems like Compton is actually going to send the sheep all the way back. This is very beneficial for him, because look at that, he's gonna get a lot of scouting from those sheep arenas, if you think about that. So this is Project Belgium's POV, but if you take a look at Compton's POV, he already has quite a decent amount of scouting already, and he's making, holy smokes, that's a big wall, and it's completely useless. Congratulations. So the thing is that he has an awful base here, but the walls that he is making are absolutely useless. We'll talk about that in a moment why, as he is clicking up the feudal age. So what it is worth noting for Komtan is that all of his golds are very, very exposed. However, the thing is that all of these golds are right next to walls. So if Project Belgium is making archers, he can deny this gold mine with one archer, this gold mine with one archer, and this one. So the thing is that as long as Project Belgium is playing scouts, which is apparently the case, these gold mines are all good. But once Project Belgium starts adding archers, things could turn around pretty fast. Now, Project Belgium will be playing Chinese over here, so he can actually just say, okay, I'm going to play the Scouts War against you. Then, when you start going for Knights, I'll be going for a mixture of Knights and Camels. So this is probably the way the game is going to shape out. Project Belgium will be playing Scouts into Knights and Camels, potentially early Monks as well. And it seems like he's actually adding 3 Villagers on Stone here. What is that? I don't see any forward wills from him, so maybe he's expecting a tower rush? That could be something. But it looks like Komtan is actually going to fast castle this. Holy smokes, I haven't seen that coming, that's for sure. He will probably be selling stone if you ask me, because he's not having any gold in the bank. So this seems like a stone selling fast castle. So Komtan came in prepared with the strategies, market blacksmith, but what is up with that? And that's a super fast castle over here. That kind of makes it understandable why he went for all these walls, because he was really committing a lot to walling. But it's pretty admirable that he went, I think it was 24 plus 1 plus loom. So that's an equivalent of 25 or 24 plus 2. And now I understand why Project Belgium is on stone. I think he's starting to realize, hey, my opponent is actually going to fast castle this. This is a very interesting game, to be honest, because Project Belgium is on stone with 2 villagers. And I don't think that he initially had this tower on his mind before he actually dropped that mining camp on the stone. So I wonder if I don't know something about Komtan that I should. As I said, there are many players in the qualifiers that I don't really know about. So I don't know if Komtan, for example, is a player that likes to play with towers or not. Because if Komtan likes to play with towers, then I understand if Project Belgium preemptively goes for stone mine, so you can actually go for defensive towers. And I would also understand if Komtan said, okay, my opponent thinks I'll be playing towers, so what I'm going to do is just play with a fast castle. That is something that he's not expecting. And based on the brags, I would think that the idea here is going to be a pike and siege push in Castle Age. Project Belgium knows that, and he is going to stonewall himself off, but he's still pretty far from Castle Age, so this is going to be really tricky. The thing is, however, that Komtan doesn't have an amazing army, so yeah, this is a fast castle, but fast castle into what? It's going to be a stable, but that stable is awfully late for Komtan. Maybe he thought he already has it, or I don't know, but if he wants to just play a Hoang Rush here with Knights and Mangonels, that should have already happened. Here's the 2 Villagers coming forward, so this actually just wants to be a Hoang Rush with Franks over here. Interesting is the idea to do that, and Bagum does run into the Spearman over here, far from ideal for him, and these Villagers may not actually get intercepted. I think there was a second Will here, but that's probably just here to reroll. I would have preferred if there is a second Villager forward in case the first one gets intercepted. Oftentimes it is recommended that you send 2 Villagers. Now Komtan is going to be coming in here with the Knights. He doesn't really have a great food eco, so I wonder if there is going to be a lot of market abuse in this build order for him. But he's sending forward the Knight, and I think that should be an alarming sign for Project Belgium, telling him, hey, he's sending the Knight forward to me. What could he be thinking? And I wonder, I think Project Belgium actually, or Komtan wanted to sneak that Vulture, but now he just sees the outpost and he's gonna be like, okay, I have been spotted. I think Project Belgium now knows what's up, and indeed here come these scouts. But this Vulture could also get intercepted by Komtan. There is 1 Spearman over there, a second one as well, and 2 Spearmen should be enough to more or less deal with the Knight now. There is 3. I think Project Belgium is doing the right thing here. So going for Spearman defense against the early Knights can actually be worth it, because the early Knights aren't that amazing against Spears, and now we're gonna have potentially a Mangonel from Komtan. I like the way that Project Belgium is just re-rolling this one, and he's defending very nicely. Obviously, Project Belgium's eco is going to be far ahead of his opponent's eco at this point. So, Komtan does have Heavy Plow because that's a free upgrade that he's getting, but he hasn't gotten even Double Bit Axe. So, this kind of feels like an all-in Castle Age push over here, or at least something that's super aggressive. And I'm not sure if this is going to work out well for Komtan, especially considering that he bumps into those Spearmen with those Knights. And as I said, Spearmen aren't amazing as Knights, but especially if the Knights don't have a lot of upgrades on them, they will be pretty devastating against them, and the cost efficiency will still be on the side of the Spearmen, and that's something that Project Belgium is doing really well over here. Now, the thing is that Project Belgium plays a lot against Hoang, and this playstyle from Komtan is very reminiscent of Hoang's playstyle. And because Project Belgium plays a lot against Hoang, he has pretty much developed good enough understanding of the build and the good enough defense for him to be able to hold on against this one. There is going to be a Scorpion and a Ram coming in. However, Project Belgium is almost up himself, and that would mean that he can actually start getting Knights out. And as compared to Komtan, whose eco isn't really amazing, Project Belgium is going to have a great eco here. He's got Horse Collar, he's got Double Bit Axe, and he also has the extra food in the Chinese farms. And at the end of the day, it is also worth noting that Komtan has 3 minutes and 16 seconds of Townstead idle time. Every 25 seconds means 1 Villager, so this is something in the region of 10 Villagers already. See, Project Belgium is going to have an 8 Villagers lead right now, and he also has Wheelbarrow, so that's actually an 11 Villagers lead combined. So Komtan tried something that's like a super aggressive all-in play over here, but it seemed like it didn't really work out so far, and now he's gonna be in a very, very, very deep hole, especially because every one of those knights getting cleaned is just so bad for him overall. Like, these are extremely expensive knights for a player that only has 30 villagers, and out of that 8 is only on food. And it doesn't matter how good your push is if your TC is idle, to be honest. Well, that's not really true all the time, but in this situation it is pretty much true. Like, Komtan is trying to prepare a Scorpion Ram push, but by the time he's going to be able to do anything with that push, he's just going to get flat out outboomed. That's the thing. There's a Monastery, Project Belgium will already have his own Monastery, second TC is up, and this is the typical situation where one player is just trying to go for a Castle Age all-in, but if that push doesn't actually start killing stuff pretty fast, then the opponent is just going to outboom him, and Project Belgium will have a very, very easy boom over here, I would say. And Monastery goes up, Komtan trying to keep those walls alive as some more knights come in. There's also +1 defense upgrade for Project Belgium's infantry, so I wonder if he's actually going to tech into pikemen even, or just play with knights and just keep the spearmen around. This tower is still annoying here for Komtan because that denies that gold over there. But I feel like the main difference maker is that this 9 villagers lead, plus the fact that, as I said, there is Boso, there is Wheelbarrow over there for Project Belgium, so Project Belgium's eco seems like it is much, much better right now, and he is going to unleash the knights over here, and yeah, he's gonna lose 1 knight to conversion, as Komtan tries to take a narrow choke point here. Scorpion's Papa, that's actually a nice move from Komtan, and he picks off the Monk, but the Voyager is gonna go down, that's what matters, as the Scorpions will also go down. Another Monk goes down as well, but as I said, Project Belgium's eco lead is good enough to compensate for all these losses, and he's able to replace that army much, much easier than his opponent is. So that 10 Villagers lead and the fact that Project Belgium is now on 2 TCs is going to soon materialize, and Project Belgium will just end this game by outbooming his opponent, basically. In fact, if you look at these resources, like, Project Belgium could actually think about imping this one, although I'm not sure what he would get with imp. I think what he could do is add a couple camels, because his opponent is only knights, nothing else basically, so adding a couple of camels here would be extremely helpful. And then you could do something like, okay, instead of imping, you could just flood your opponent with knights and camels, drop a castle over here, because Project Belgium is still on stone with 2, so theoretically he could just add a couple more villagers to stone and drop a castle early on, but he likes to play this one safe, it seems like, and he will just try to make sure that he doesn't throw away the game like this. And we'll just play 3 TCs, which also makes sense. If you feel like you have the upper hand over the opponent, especially based on the score, Project Belgium probably knows that his opponent's eco is absolutely awful. You can just say, okay, I'm just going to expand my lead even further, and Komtan is not even remotely in a position to catch up in terms of villager count, so he just finished his second TC over here, but he's still missing lumber camp upgrades, he's missing wheelbarrow, whereas Project Belgium is going to have basically every every Castle Age eco upgrade for him. And here come the camels indeed from Bagum. It's a 56 to 39 villagers scenario. And now monks will also get a conversion over here. Komtan's gonna have no army in 5 seconds if those camels actually start cleaning that one up. Tries to revolt this one, but the villagers will also be denied by this tower, I believe, or at least that could also be a possibility. Not sure if that tower can range the villagers, but I think it might be able to, as he tries another layer of walls. But as I said, Project Belgium can just sit back and chill. He's stacking into light cav, probably because he sees these monks over here, and he just knows, okay, the best way to deal with them would be just to get a couple of light cav out on the field. But we're gonna have a defensive monastery here from Komtan. I think the main problem that Komtan is facing is that he's not even close to doing any damage to the opponent's base. Like, Project Belgium is just flat out outbooming him over here like crazy. So this Voyager differential is just going to grow and grow. And in the meanwhile, Komtan is getting nowhere with this game. That's the problem. That if you're playing a Castle Age Orient like that, you kind of have to actually be able to push your opponent. And credits to Project Belgium for being able to react to this one very, very nicely. Loses one knight to conversion, but his reaction to this play was actually perfect. Stone walls and making sure that your opponent is just unable to get in your base. Now the monks will try to deny this one by actually trying to convert the Voyagers. However, if you pull more Voyagers than the amount of monks, then you will just be able to prevent that one from happening. And now light caps will be coming in. Monks are also without conversion power, so you could even send in your knights, but Project Belgium arrives with the light caps. Look at that, one light cap to kill that monk, and the rest of the light caps to kill the other monks, and the opponent hasn't gotten through the walls yet. Still, Komtan actually sends one of his Voyagers over here that he converted into this stone, and now this Voyager is just going to walk, or at least attempt to walk all the way out, and now he's trying to place a house over here on this farm foundation. I'm not even sure how that actually works, but he shouldn't really be able to. Yeah, he's not really able to place that farm over there. Anyways, Project Belgium, I think, says he has had enough, and he will probably try to clean this one up once again. I feel like this game has been long over, so Project Belgium is a pretty decisive lead over here, and unless he makes a massive throw, this is supposed to be game over. He's technically ready to go into Imperial here, has a 20 Voyagers lead, much better eco, much better army, and he's gonna make a siege workshop here to clean this one up with some rams. There is a monk inside this monastery, but it's gonna get killed by light cap anyways. It is 2.2k army value for Project Belgium, only 640 for Komtan. Komtan is trying to come back into this one, but I mean, he's just making his third TC, whereas his opponent has been on 3 town centers for the whole Castle Age. So that 22 Voyagers lead is huge, and also there is Handcart already, while Boso is only just now coming in for Komtan. So his eco is an absolute mess compared to Project Belgium, and there is the castle I was talking about. You castle drop the opponent's gold mine and simultaneously go up to Imperial. Project Belgium, I think, is actually he can click up with the monastery and siege workshop, and I think Komtan should tap out now. Like, this game was long over, to be honest, but now this is Omega over. So this castle goes up, and you are gonna have no means of actually stopping this. Your opponent is gonna be an Imperial, and he will just trap down your base completely. Like, he's trying to make a pikeman transition, but this transition is like awfully late. By the time any of the pikemen will actually start showing, there will be true canoes on the field, there will be traps on the field, and as I said, this is gonna be clean up as well. Project Belgium also collecting relics. He will actually yoink one over here, and he will probably take one over there as well. Like, this is one of those games where I'm just saying, come on, man, resign. Like, this game, there is a less than, I don't know, 0.1% chance for Komtan to win this game. He's not even remotely close to stopping Project Belgium's army, actually hitting his eco, re-booming in a way that he actually catches up to Project Belgium's eco, fielding an army composition that's capable of beating Chinese and Imperial. He's not even remotely capable of doing any of these, let alone doing all of them at the same time. And now, Project Belgium will just get some capped rams over here. The reason why he's making rams here is because he needs to wait until Imperial to make traps, but he can already start making rams. And he's also getting guard towers, so I wonder if he's indeed tower rushing wood lines over here from his opponent. He's also garrisoning his knights to heal them up inside the castle, which is a nice move. But as I said, eventually Chu canoes will start happening. And Project Belgium's eco is good enough to make a transition to the archers once he sees the spearman from his opponent. I wonder if he sees those barracks yet. I don't think he does. Yeah, he has no idea about those barracks right now, but he will soon figure out once he sees the pikeman. There's the guard tower, and that means that another wood line is gonna get denied. Komtan still has a lot of wood to work with, and he actually has a lot of gold as well, as pikeman just kicks in. But I mean, Project Belgium is stacking into cavalier, he's stacking into trebs. Kept ram could also be something, and Komtan just taps out upon seeing his opponent being an imp. Let's be honest, this game was over a long time ago. Komtan tried an all-in Castle Age play over here, but this failed really badly, and I said 3-1 for Project Belgium at the beginning. If this tendency continues, then this is going to be a very, very easy 3-0 over here. So, that was game number 1, Arabia. And let us take a look at the civilization draft. As I said, we don't have a map draft, so I don't know what maps are going to be coming in for us. But anyways, Chinese is lost by Project Belgium, and we have Franks lost by Komtan, and we will jump into game number 2 right now, which will be on one of the home maps of Komtan. Let me check out which game is coming next. They also didn't order them in the order in which they were played, so I'll have to double check if I launch up the appropriate game. We don't want to launch up game 4 first, but it seems like this is the game, and we have Cross as the home map of Komtan over here. We'll be jumping inside, and indeed Komtan says Cross. This is indeed the second game. You see that from the previous game, Bagum advanced into Imperial, Komtan says GG, and in the next lobby he says Cross. So, game number 2 over here, we are on 4 lakes. Komtan will be playing Japanese in blue on the left, and Project Belgium will be playing Malians in orange on the right. I think one of the players had Huns, so I'm somewhat surprised we're not seeing that over here. I think it was Project Belgium or Komtan maybe, I don't remember. I'll have to double check. It was Komtan that had Huns available, so it's somewhat surprising that we're seeing Japanese over here, even though that's not a bad save at all. So, faster working fishing ships and actually being able to keep them alive is a very, very nice and easy combination for you. Alright, so once again, for time conservation reasons, Dark Age will be abbreviated. So Project Belgium for now is pushing in there. Malians is also a very, very decent civilization for hybrid maps like this, because the cheaper buildings allow you to drop that dock a little earlier. For the fishing ships a little easier, so that's a nice little boost. And it seems like Project Belgium might be heading to this lake, which is actually the further away lake. I see the idea for him. So the idea is that he's closer to this lake, but he's intentionally going for the one that's further away. And the reason why, as Komtan is going for the standard lake that he could go for, I assume that the reason why he's going for that is because he thinks that Komtan will try to sneak a dock upon him, and he wants to have his fishing geek on a pond where Komtan has a much, much harder time sneaking a dock upon. That being said, I think Komtan has seen this dock, so he knows exactly where to come, but it's going to take a lot more time to get that Voyager over there, but here that comes. So, the Voyager walking all the way through the map, and we'll see if Project Belgium spots it. Upon hitting fuel age, we'll slow down a little bit. And we'll have scouts, and with Voyagers added to gold mine as well. That's huge for Project Belgium. Intercept the Voyager, he was expecting it. He was expecting this Voyager, and that is a disaster for Komtan, because I believe that his entire game plan was based on the fact that he is going to be able to deny the fishing geek of the opponent. The other thing that he's doing is pretty standard as well with Japanese. Men-at-Arms is the name of the game. Project Belgium will be forced to make a defensive tower on his gold mine. But right now, Komtan could just dive beneath the TC, indeed, because there is not a lot of Voyagers that can garrison inside. And he would just run past the TC over there. And the thing is that Men-at-Arms, especially Japanese Men-at-Arms, just shred scouts over here. So Project Belgium is going to have some tough moments in the upcoming couple of minutes. Because one thing that both players are capable of is protecting their fishing eco, so no fishing ship will be killed in the upcoming couple of minutes. And now Project Belgium is just going to pull his Voyagers, take this fight, and will lose 1 scout, 2 scouts, far from ideal over here, but crisis averted, so to say, for Project Belgium. Komtan with 28 eco. Project Belgium actually has 32, look at this. 7 fishing ships as opposed to just 5 from his opponent, plus Komtan also a little bit more TC idle time. So that is an excellent start, I would say, for Project Belgium. Also, it seems like Project Belgium actually killed a Voyager from the opponent, but I actually missed that. I have no idea where that Voyager kill happened. Oh, wait, I'm dumb. That Voyager kill happened over here. That was the Voyager kill. He intercepted that well. Anyways, it looks like Komtan is trying to do the exact same thing, just making sure that the Voyager isn't able to get that dock up. But that dock is going up no matter what, and the players will be expanding towards the neutral lakes right now. The mobility advantage is on the side of Project Belgium, and there is no spearman here to accompany those archers, so they could actually be picked off by these scouts very, very easily, which would be a disaster for Komtan. Project Belgium not going for those right now. He may be heading towards the northern lake to see if his opponent is actually going for docking, and that's an early town watch from Project Belgium to increase the line of sight of his buildings. And there's an overchop there. You can actually get the scouts in there, and that's indeed a disaster for Komtan. So a Voyager goes down, nicely done by Project Belgium, disengages before he would lose those scouts. And as I said, what I like here in this extra line of sight is that it actually gives you a much better awareness if your opponent is sneaking a dock up on you. So I like that decision to go for the fast town watch. Anyways, you already have skirms out for Project Belgium as well. Does have fletching, but does not have the defense upgrade over here right now. Hill is on the side of Komtan over here, but one thing that Project Belgium could do is just take down that spearman with the archer, use the skirms against the archers, and that's an excellent fight for Project Belgium once again. Spearman eventually is going to go down, even though this is a bit mismicroed by Project Belgium, but he ends up winning the game, and it's one range only from Komtan. Whereas Project Belgium is making units on a range, and he could potentially add a couple more scouts as well. Plus, he sneaks the dock upon Komtan over here. Komtan sees this. But the question is he able to react to that? Because right now he's busy not dying here on land. And when you're distracted like this, you may not be able to react to this one in time. And I don't think that he's actually doing that. No, he's making fire guys, so he knows it. He's also scouting for Project Belgium fishing ship on the other pawn. Project Belgium right now with a pretty confident 4 Voyagers lead over his opponent. Both players having similar TCR times, but we did not actually point out, as there is another Voyager going down from Komtan, that there is a lot of hills in front of Komtan's base, and that's something that you really dislike when you're a defending player, exactly because of this. This is why you don't like hills in front of your base, because the attacking player can just camp those hills, and you will have a very tough time pushing him away from that. And the combination of archers, skirms, and scouts from Project Belgium actually seems to be a little bit better than just archers and skirms from Komtan. Also, remember that Komtan is in one range, and that's all the production that he has, whereas his opponent, Project Belgium, is actually on stable plus range, so he also has just better numbers military-wise. And now you see that the skirms die from Komtan, so does the archers, even though that skirm is still killing a couple of archers over here for Project Belgium. So once again, this was a slightly mismicroed by Project Belgium, who is not pushing this one. But behind this one, he has a 6 Voyagers lead, and he's actually getting close to picking up the Castle Age, whereas his opponent is by far not even close. And if he gets up to Castle Age, it's probably just going to be Knights, potentially double stable Knights. He only has 3 archers, so I would doubt that we are seeing the crossbow upgrade coming in very soon. And Project Belgium also has a lot of farms over here. This is a real Aesop though from him though. Look at this. Horse collar and double bit axe completely missing from him. And you don't want this many farms without horse collar. I like the fact that he's adding a couple of farms in case he suddenly loses his fishing eco. So he's not completely dependent on his fishing eco, but he's able to compensate in case he loses some of his fish. However, the fact that many farms are dropped that horse collar breaks my heart. What also breaks my heart is that he could easily afford double bit axe, yet he's completely forgetting it over here. And that means one more Voyager killed over here from Project Belgium. Indeed, nice move from him. Look at this. Forging, he had +1 defense coming in, and he could easily afford at least the lumber camp upgrade would be nice, and that's once again very nice awareness from Project Belgium. Making galley. The reason why I make galley is because it's impossible for a Voyager to wall herself in and prevent herself from getting killed. Against fire galley, if you actually wall the Voyager in, the fire galley can't shoot over the palisade wall, so you can actually get a dock up even if there is a fire galley right next to it. So what Komtan is going to do is juke around with his scout to distract the galley. And the galley is going to be shooting that scout, so Komtan might actually get it up, or he just loses the scout, and that is not going up either. Komtan on the way to Castle Age as well. But look at this, he's off from gold, he's losing his archers over here. Military numbers are 12 to 6. Project Belgium is not really contesting this pawn, he's just sitting and chilling with his own pawn. I think he's waiting for fire ship upgrade now. So he's waiting until Castle Age kicks in, he's gonna get War Galley on one of the docks here at the back. And then unpop these, use the Castle Age advantage on his side. He's actually not going to wait that long. He already unpops the ships over here, and archers already denying parts of the wood line, but I think the devastating thing here for Komtan is going to be the knights coming in. There is double bit axe and heavy plow now for Project Belgium even. And with War Galley in, he's going to be able to melt all the fishing eco here from Komtan. And Komtan is still 1 minute away from going into Castle Age. I feel like this is a 2-0 here for Project Belgium. I feel like this is a 2-0, and he seems to be having a very, very dominant advantage over his opponent, because now this is going to be 5 fishing ships dead. Project Belgium is a completely untouched fishing eco over here, and he's getting knights out to the opponent's eco, just killing villagers left and right. Now, even in the previous game, Komtan didn't resign easily, but now he realizes, hey, I am about to lose my fishing eco, I'm losing my villagers, and there's just no way back here. Like, he can try making spears, but his base is so open that knights will just run through. Knights only have +1 defense here, but Bagum could actually afford +2 very soon. And they would just run past over here and just hit this part of the eco. But even without that, he knows exactly that he couldn't contest this pawn, he couldn't contest this pawn, and he's now losing this one, so it would be 3 pawns against just 1. Project Belgium, an even more convincing win, I would say, than compared to the previous game. This was not even remotely close. The KD is actually a little bit misleading. Komtan 21-34. Obviously, Project Belgium was winning, but this was a more dominant win than what the KD suggests. I think what is actually telling the story more is the 9 villagers killed over 0. Komtan never had a moment where he was actually able to kill a Project Belgium villager. Well, he had one where he actually intercepted a vill here with a weak scout, but the weak scout wasn't able to kill that villager anyways. So that is a swift and easy 2-0 right now, and that means that we will have Japanese loss for Komtan. Project Belgium is losing Malians over here, and now we'll go to Komtan's second home map. Once again, since they haven't posted the map draft, I have absolutely no clue what that home map is, and it seems like it will be Bay. So let's jump into that one, and off we go. So welcome to Pans, also known as Bay. It is going to be Project Belgium playing as Portuguese in orange over here. That's a little surprising, but if Islands isn't actually in the map pool, Portuguese makes a lot of sense here. Other side is going to be Persians, a civ I like a little bit more, to be honest, on this map, but both of these civs are pretty decent on hybrid maps. They're also both somewhat one-dimensional towards a certain type of unit, so Persians are a lot more cavalry focused, Portuguese are a little bit more archer focused. Persian knights do deal extra damage against archers, and that's gonna be interesting to monitor. So I would still think that Komtan's civ here is better, but based on just the individual execution, I feel like Project Belgium was just outplaying Komtan for the majority of the previous 2 games. Anyways, Portuguese is still a completely viable civ here, although I'm not necessarily a huge fan of that. Komtan comes forward with the scout over here, intending to potentially intercept the docking villager. He's already sending the dock will out. You see that he has 3 on wood, but that's actually a pretty early dock from Komtan. Nice move that he was able to bring that in. And in the meanwhile, Project Belgium will just be using his own scout to protect the villager that is making the dock. The dock is up for both sides, and now the faster working dock and TC for Persians will actually show its effects. You see that the 1 villager's lead from Komtan maybe comes from that. Project Belgium may try to just harass the fishing ships over here, but instead decides that he wants to just scout around the opponent's base. Komtan even goes for Loom, which is something that you can technically skip on this map if you really are ambitious and just try to go for a very, very fast fuel age here, but it is potentially risky to skip it. I think Project Belgium also got that indeed, and now we will see the traditional, good old-fashioned fire galley fights over here. So this map is all about that, and it seems like neither of the players will actually be going for land aggression. I think Project Belgium may be looking for an opportunity to actually kill the opponent's repair villager though, and this is where the faster working docks of the Persians will really start to shine. So you see that Project Belgium is just about to get the fire galleys out, and he is already about to lose a fishing ship here. Now the fire galleys pop out though, and remember that they have 10% extra health here for Portuguese, which helps quite a bit, to be honest, as 1 fishing ship goes down from Project Belgium. I think he's still looking for the repair villager, and he will be able to find it, or he might be voting for the wall villager. Anyways, Project Belgium already adding villagers to berries, knowing that he's gonna need a couple, as he is going to be falling behind in ship numbers, and even more importantly, Project Belgium floating a lot of wood and gold here, but he's not getting additional fire galleys out, so is he bailing out on water already? That would be a little bit premature, because this is still winnable, he just needs a couple good demos. But the fact that those fire galleys were so late actually hurts him so badly. Now there's a demo here as well. Komtan is going to demo snipe those fishing ships. Wasn't really perfect, in fact it was far from ideal. But in just a quick succession, we are having 4 fire galleys against absolutely no fleet here for Project Belgium. And now, he may not have wanted to bail out on water, he's gonna have to now. So now what he can do is just send in his demo and snipe the opponent's fishing eco. That's exactly what you do in such a scenario. You just send in the demo and try to snipe the fishing eco demo. Nice splits over there from Komtan, very nicely done. So he knows exactly that there's a demo snipe coming and he's just splitting his fishing ships away, and he will just send in one fire galley to clean it up, and Project Belgium is going to have to settle with just 1 fishing ship killed, which is obviously very far from ideal. Anyways, Project Belgium now transitioning into a land army, but now is the moment for Komtan to realize, okay, I have water control, so this is my moment to start rolling myself up, and he's gonna go for a stable. Remember that 4 fishing ships working for him is going to be in, well, it's not just 3 fishing ships, but he may add a couple more later on. 3 fishing ships working for him is going to get a very nice slow boost to his eco. And unless Project Belgium is able to do damage with the archers in Feudal Age, that's also going to be troublesome for Project Belgium, because Persian Knights will just be absolutely wrecking those archers. Upgrades on the eco are similar. Komtan is having a lot of Voyagers of Berries, and it seems like he's actually moving out to grab the hunt. This is actually a risky move, but if it pays off, and Project Belgium isn't noticing it with the archers, that could be a very good decision. Project Belgium also went out to take the hunt over here. And Komtan? What are you doing here? Okay, he's going for the hunt. So he's going to be fully bold. And as I said, the difference maker here is going to be the fishing ships. In fact, Komtan, as expected, he's adding a couple more fishing ships as he secures the water for himself. And then meanwhile, Project Belgium is just getting the archers out. Komtan actually finds those, so he knows exactly they are coming. Reaction is going to be a couple of scouts. No skirmishers right now for him, as Project Belgium is getting fletching over here for him. I would think that castlage times will be pretty similar, although Komtan is going to need a market to make sure that does happen. Whereas Project Belgium might already be thinking about going up to the next stage here for an early crossbowman and siege play, because that's something that he could do. If he's able to edge out an earlier castlage, he could start pushing the base of Komtan over here pretty easily. Komtan does have a pretty confident 7 Voyagers lead, which is pretty admirable, to be honest. 7 wheels is 7 wheels. So that is actually very cool overall. Project Belgium will be losing a couple of archers over here as well, even though those scouts aren't amazing at killing archers now that they have fletching. So Komtan kind of needs +1 defense for those scouts to be competitive with those. Market is coming up though, and he's going to be on the way to castlage in a moment. Project Belgium will actually be lagging behind a little bit in terms of castlage timing. Indeed, he just needs to drop off the food and he's going to be fine. Project Belgium isn't going to be that much behind. In fact, he's going to be like 20-30 seconds-ish behind. The problem is that his army isn't really going to be super valuable in early castlage. He'll have a couple of archers, but Persian Knights will be able to deal with that one pretty easily. Now, Komtan's gonna have some scary moments ahead of him, though, when he needs to reroll this one, because it's not like he has an army that's capable of dealing with these archers. So, I don't see a range for skirms, so I guess he's just gonna wait and hope that castlage is going to be enough so that he can actually beat this down with knights. There is the second stable, bloodlines coming in as well. +1 defense is, I guess, the next thing to queue up, but he doesn't... Actually, he does have blacksmith, so he could queue up +1 defense. He could even make 1 or 2 scouts here. That could have been a potentially better option as well. Make 1 or 2 scouts. If you're afraid of this push, make 2 scouts here. Bring in the third one that is some round over here. And make +1 defense, and you can actually clean this one up. Or at least weaken it enough so that it doesn't do a lot of damage to your base. However, it seems like these guys aren't getting through the walls until the knights show up. And Project Belgium may be in danger of losing that army once the knights show up, though, because he's not going to be able to run back home anymore with that. So, Other side, houses being burned down over here is actually pretty annoying for Project Belgium. And remember that the fishing eco is really going to show for Komtan. So the fact that he's at 49 versus 39 eco is absolutely brutal. And now knights are coming in, and as I said, Persian knights will also do a lot of extra damage to archers. And now Komtan will be coming out with the knights over here, checks out what his opponent is doing over here, and he may actually intercept the Voyager here with the scout. Project Belgium will find the mill, so he's probably looking for his opponent. Komtan knows that as well, and he will just divert all the Voyagers from the hunt to somewhere else. That's actually a very, very nice understanding of the game from both players. They know that the opponent is looking for the hunt, so you're gonna take away the Voyagers over there. And in the meanwhile, Komtan will probably just be, I don't know, maybe send them to mine gold or something here. Because I don't think that you're gonna be able to take the hunt, and Project Belgium is still looking for these guys. But that's an ambitious move from Project Belgium because, yeah, he might actually kill a couple of Veils over here, but he's having his entire army over there, and Belgium is gonna get pushed pretty hard by Komtan's siege over here. So now the scout will be found by Project Belgium's crossbows. I think this TC might even go denied. Oh, that's smart from Komtan once again, playing hide and seek with the crossbows. And now I think Komtan is going to dispatch a couple of knights to deal with this. 3 knights should be enough, but the question is, are they going to arrive in time? Because these Voyagers, oh, Project Belgium didn't know this in time, and every second matters here because the knights are now coming. Project Belgium trying to snipe off those Voyagers. Komtan loses 1, but here come the knights. Knights only have +1 defense, but they're Persian knights, so they do a lot of extra damage to the crossbows. Komtan is going to lose another will and another one, and that is going to be an absolutely even, well, not an even trade, but that's the type of win where Project Belgium just sacrificed the army to kill a couple of Veils. The problem is that Project Belgium didn't pull ahead in terms of Voyager count because of the fishing ships that are still available for Komtan, and it looks like Project Belgium is trying to convert the Fire Galley over here, but that's not going to be successful up until now. Now that he's outside of the range of the Fire Galleys, he could try converting again, but there is already a Mangonel on the way, and Project Belgium trying to pick up relics, trying to grab a couple more crossbows, but he's at 7 army compared to 15. As I said, 5 of those are crossbows. He's got a couple of monks, so the plan is that he wants to defend against the knights with monks, but as long as there is Mangonels on the field, that's going to be pretty tough to do as well, and that pause side gate is going to just melt like paper. Paper doesn't melt, paper actually sets on fire if you heat it, so that was a wrong comparison, but still. Now Project Belgium adding a stable, so he wants to get a couple knights out to deal with the Mangonels, as there was a conversion. That's gonna be costly for Komtan over here. Project Belgium getting the Mangonel potentially sniped over here. Indeed, it goes down. That was a very, very costly loss of a knight because he also lost a Mangonel to that. So at the end of the day, Project Belgium traded 1 monk to a knight and a Mangonel, which is pretty admirable. And Redemption is coming in here for Project Belgium, so he is willing to play with monk defense over here. Only 1 monastery though. In the meanwhile, he's on 3 TCs, so he's catching up in terms of economy, even though his opponent is also having 2 TCs with Persians. And now the attempt is going to be made to convert that Mangonel. There is no Sanctity on those monks though, and that actually hurts pretty badly, because if you want Redemption, you probably want to grab Sanctity as well. Otherwise, your monk is going to die to 1 Mangonel shot, and Project Belgium wanted to make sure that, or Komtan wanted to make sure that he actually gets that kill, deleted the Mangonel, just to make sure that it's not gonna get converted in the final second. In the meanwhile, Komtan also gets his 3rd TC up, so it's 3 TCs versus 3 TCs, and look at that fishing eco. That's absolutely crazy for Komtan. That's going to give him an awful lot of food over time. Very efficient overall. Voyager count-wise, we're getting closer, so this seems like we're going to see a late game scenario over here. Finally a game where both players are pretty competitive against each other in this one. So the problem that the Portuguese will be facing is that the Arbalests will just melt to the cavalry or paladin from the Persians in this one. And as I said, also the fact that Komtan has 3 TCs plus the fishing eco, and those are Persian TCs, should mean that he's gonna be able to outboom Project Belgium a little bit as well. And that's a nice conversion from Project Belgium. He will actually try to snipe a fishing ship or so with that. And Komtan has to be careful not to lose his fire galleys over here to conversions, because once he runs out of those, If Project Belgium actually converts the last remaining Fire Galley, he will have a free time to just absolutely slaughter all that fishing eco. Now, Project Belgium wants to imp here, whereas Komtan is not really thinking about that. He's thinking about light cavalry, interestingly. Now, with the food eco that he has, if he idles his production buildings for a brief moment, he should be able to go up into Imperial pretty soon as well. But Project Belgium will be able to go up a little faster. He does have Monastery, and indeed here is the University, so he will be going up right now. And the Arbalest Power Spike could be something that Komtan has a tough time dealing with. So, really, when it comes to those Arbalests, they will just melt Light Snipe Letting. So, unless Komtan is able to get to Imperial Age soon and work towards Cavalier, Komtan could be in trouble. Or Komtan could also think about, okay, I'm just gonna try and push my opponent right now in Castle Age. Now he's thinking about Imperial, but he's a little too low on gold for that, to be honest. 6 only on gold. Not really great, to be honest, for him. He's apparently getting outposts up all over the place, so he wants to have a very, very good map awareness, and he does. So he wants to know where Project Belgium is moving, and I guess the plan here for him is that he's trying to trap Project Belgium within his own base. 147 remaining for Project Belgium's imp time, 237 was the count for Komtan, so it's about 50 seconds difference between the two players in Imperial Age time. That could be still alright for Komtan, because this army is a rather slow-moving army and you will still need the upgrades, so this could be enough for Komtan. Now, Project Belgium, using Redemption Monks to their maximum power, he will actually convert that the Siege Workshop, and honestly, indeed, Komtan's gonna have to lead that one. Now the Light Cav come in to snipe that Monk potentially, but crossbows will be there. And that means that Monk will still go down, but Komtan lost his Siege Workshop, which I think is already an achievement from Project Belgium. 14 Voyagers lead in the favor of Komtan, and the real question that Komtan is facing right now is that, can he actually get to Cavalier in time? Because if Project Belgium starts pushing this one with Arbalest and Bombard Cannon right as he reaches Imperial, obviously he's gonna need Chemistry early on, but don't be surprised to see Chemistry very early here from Project Belgium. So, Arbalest, Bracer, and Chemistry will be coming in immediately indeed, because this wants to be an Arbalest Bombard Cannon push. In the meanwhile, defensive cast for Komtan is actually a decent idea, because that's gonna slow down that push. So, even with Bombard Cannons, you're gonna need a couple of them to take down a castle, and Arbalest will not be able to run past here, so this really buys some time for Komtan, who is getting another stable up, so he is going to commit to Cavalier, which is, I think, the right decision to do. +1, +2 will be there. I think he will be waiting until this finishes, and then go for +4 defense. Cavalier needs to pop immediately. As I said, Komtan was very low on gold for a huge amount of time, and that is one of the reasons why he isn't able to pop Cavalier and Plate Boarding at the same time. But here's Plate Boarding. Cavalier should come in pretty soon as well for him. And it's not. Now, you need Cavalier here, my man, and this is why this castle was so important, because it actually slows down Project Belgium's push, just what Komtan needs. He needs to slow down this push, otherwise, if this castle wasn't here, the Arbalests would be killing Voyagers by now, and soon would be supported by Bombard Cannons. Now, it's a Halberdier transition already from Project Belgium, getting quite a lot of those pikemen on the field, so the next question now for Komtan is that what is he going to do against that? He could go hand cannon, but that takes some time to transition into. He could go for Commandaran crossbows, but once again that takes quite a lot of time to transition into. You need to get archer ranges up, you need to get archer numbers out, you need to get the Commandaran upgrade itself. Botkin, it seems like we are going to have something like that, potentially, because we are having fletching on the way, and there's actually a second blacksmith for Komtan. So I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but because it's fletching, I'm tempted to say it could be either skirms or Commandaran crossbows, but for Persians, Commandaran crossbows are actually better than pikemen, so, or better than skirmishers, so it should be crossbows with Commandaran. If you're not familiar with the technology, what it gives Persians is the ability to train crossbows without gold cost. The problem that the reason why that's not perfect, because that would sound perfect, but there is no available, well, for Persians, they can't go for the Arbalest upgrade. So that means that even though you have some very, very cheap crossbowmen, those are actually pretty much sort of buffed up castle age units, if you put it that way. So you get some very, very cheap but kind of crappy archers at the end of the day for Komtan. Project Belgium now moving in with the bombard cannons, Arbalest. That's a big horde of units over there. And the thing is that as long as there's that many Arbalasts, they will just eat the crossbows over there. But Paladin is on the way for Komtan, and with Paladin Blast Furnace and even the Persian attack bonus against archers, those archers will melt really fast. However, Project Belgium now has more and more halberdiers on the field, and Commandaran is coming in for Komtan right now. He is just about to finish with that. Paladin is still 20 seconds away, as now he's gonna try spamming out some crossbows over here. It's also like, I think Commandaran crossbows is the right decision over here. We'll see how much they can impact the game though, especially because there is no ballistics, there is no Botkin arrow for Komtan. I think there is no chemistry either. Let me check. Yeah, there is no chemistry on this guy either. So at the end of the day, by the time these upgrades come in, you are going to lose one castle over here, which hurts quite badly. And more importantly, it gives Project Belgium time to mass even more army. You see, Project Belgium is 200 pop, whereas Komtan is 177. Chemistry just on the way, but you're still waiting for the armor upgrades for the archers to come in. And now Project Belgium is pushing more and more forward as you're losing your castle over here. And that's a scary blob of Paladins. But if you run into a wall of halberdiers like that, they will die pretty easily. So I would say that I like Project Belgium's unit composition a lot more over here, especially because he already has siege in it, and it's not like a couple of Commandaran crossbows will be able to pick off enough halberdiers over here to compensate for the fact that the halberdiers could eat the Paladin. I think Komtan is just waiting for the last possible moment over here, but I think the more he's waiting, the worse his situation is going to be. That's the thing. As now Komtan seems to break out, here come the Paladin. And let's see the fight. The key thing is that you have to kind of keep the halberdiers in front to kill the cavalry, and the Arbalests here will outrange the crossbows. The crossbows will only have 7 range, Arbalests will have 8, plus you have bombard cannons as well. And this is an excellent fight for Project Belgium over here. He's melting the Paladin, or is he? That's a lot of Paladin, and it seems like the amount of halberdiers weren't enough, and there's more Paladin coming in here. Is Komtan going to edge out a victory here using Paladin? We have seen in so many cases that Paladin are just so hard to kill in 1v1. Now this is far from sustainable for Komtan. As you see over here, he's losing the Paladins left and right to the Arbs, and it is much easier for Project Belgium to replenish his halberdier numbers than it is to replenish the Paladin numbers for Komtan. But he is apparently resilient, and he is committed to this one, and that means that now Project Belgium is very close to pushing into Komtan's base over here. How is Komtan gonna get out of this one? I have no idea, because like one final wave of Paladins could be something I can think about, because there isn't really a lot of hubs here. And that is Arquebus, which would actually make the bombard cannons, it's basically ballistics for bombard cannons. As now that's actually an okay engagement for Komtan over there. The crossbows are taking down the hubs, and if the Paladins are able to start surrounding those orbs, suddenly Project Belgium is going to start losing a lot of units here. It's kind of a last stand here for Komtan for his tournament life, so that he's not getting 3-0. But as I said, those Paladins are just absolutely wrecking the orbs. The question is, can you have enough Paladins on the field? And right now, it's only 5 of them out there for Komtan. And he's getting a very nice map controller for himself, and this map is really suitable for Paladins in the terms of available gold. You see that Komtan is taking gold from everywhere basically on this map, and there is more Paladins, and the Arbalest numbers are dropping really fast here for Project Belgium. In fact, now the army numbers are looking closer and closer, and once the Arbalests are gone, the Commander and crossbows will actually start dominating the engagements over here. So this is getting better and better for Komtan over here. It seems like his last stand over here is slowly paying off. Now +4 defense coming in for the archers, but Halberdier is going back, and that means the Paladins will intercept the Arbalests. And remember that Project Belgium doesn't have an amazing amount of gold available for him. In fact, look at this, a Paladin might actually deny this DC over here, because Komtan, one thing that he has is insane map awareness, thanks to all those outposts over there. And Project Belgium is attempting a castle over here. Remember, Komtan lost his own castle, so traps isn't really an option anymore for our Japanese player. And in the meanwhile, Project Belgium is going to get that castle, or get that PC up over there. Siege Workshop comes in from Komtan over there, and this castle is also going up. But now Komtan is going to unleash the Paladins, and he might just be heading straight towards Project Belgium's eco with those. Komtan has 154 villager count. Project Belgium's entire population is 164, so Project Belgium actually lost a lot of villagers, and now the trash bows seem to slowly start paying off here for Komtan, because Project Belgium's push has kind of stalled out. And keep in mind that Project Belgium doesn't really have an amazing amount of gold available. In fact, as you see, Komtan tried to lame this gold away from him, and gold units versus non-gold units is going to dominate the game. If Komtan is able to hold out until Project Belgium runs out of gold, and even after that he could be in a good situation thanks to the trash bows. When this was introduced, this new technology with Definitive Edition, a lot of people thought that it's overpowered for Persians. It sort of disappeared in recent memory. I don't even remember which was the last tournament where I saw Commander I'm being used at, but it can be a very, very good situational technology. As you see, these crossbows aren't amazing. They're missing Bracer, they're missing the Arbalest upgrade, but the cost efficiency is still there, and they're very efficient at dealing with Halberdiers. And now, Komtan finds a way into Project Belgium's base, who is losing villagers extremely fast, down to 88. And despite the fact that Komtan doesn't actually have any siege accompanying his push over here, the reality is that he's about to raid Project Belgium to death here with all those Paladins just killing villager after villager. Project Belgium is down to 75 villas, 120 population, whereas Komtan is at 140 villas by himself. Project Belgium in response tried to go for a few light cav raids, which killed quite a lot of villas here from Komtan, but a couple of Paladins can clean that one up. And we can't deny the fact that Project Belgium is running short on gold as he's adding a second layer of walls behind, but I think there is a hole over here somewhere on those walls. There has to be. Yeah, there is a hole. And the Paladins will just run past and once again start killing villagers. Now, Project Belgium is also doing a lot of raiding over here with the light calves, so that's something that's worth considering, that this opening over here actually hurts really badly for Komtan. In fact, the Bombard Cannon is taking down the TC here, so it's the who dies faster type of scenario as we have kept rams on the way. What? Oh, that Siege Ram already queued up. So Komtan wants to go for Siege Ram over here to take down the castles, no Trebs, because he doesn't have a castle. He's also adding more and more Hussar, but the Project Belgium's population is disturbingly low. So 115 population overall, 39 army, 76 villagers, and he's without gold basically. He's got 7 villagers on gold, whereas his opponent has 16. And that means that more and more Paladins can come in, and now, as I said, Rams are on the way. Hand Cannoneers are out for Project Belgium, but Hand Cannoneers against what? I have no idea. I think that might have been just a misclick from him in terms of hotkeys, because Hand Cannoneers don't do anything here against Commander and Crossbows, they don't do anything against Cavalier or Paladin, they don't do anything against Rams, so they really are... Well, they are actually a pretty good damage dealing unit against Paladins, to be honest, if you have some meat shield in front, especially after the new projectile behavior upgrade. But still, Trash Bows will be a lot more cost efficient way to deal with this one. And once again, Komtan is like now pushing with Rams on this side, and the thing is that now it is an even trade of armies, or at least a near even trade of armies, and that means that Project Belgium, whose eco is much weaker, is going to have a harder time replacing his army. Now those Arbalests are caught off position as well. They are no longer able to jump back into the castle. They will be surrounded by Paladins, and they die super fast. Crossbows over here will take a rather cost efficient engagement, and the castle is also very close to going down over here, and it's just an endless flood of crossbows. That's the thing. It's like, as long as there is wood on the map, you can make these crossbows, and that is a difference compared to Project Belgium's army, because Project Belgium's army requires gold to be made, as he's trying to save this castle here. There's one more siege ram that could potentially finish off this castle, and indeed, that castle goes down. This was a really inefficient fight for Komtan, but a fight that he kind of had to take in order to protect the front of his base. Project Belgium is rebooming into this game, back to 96 villagers, but now the bigger question for him is, how is he going to stop an army that is slowly overrunning him over here with the Trash Bows and Paladins? And also, how is he going to compensate for the fact that he's going to be very low on gold? He's doing a lot of raids over here now, so I'm gonna credit Project Belgium for that. Like, he's really trying to raid the opponent's gold eco over here and trying to secure some gold mines for himself. The problem that Project Belgium is facing is that he's just unable to mine gold. Like, it's nice thing that you're denying the opponent's gold, but it doesn't help if you can't mine gold yourself. And Komtan going for a forward castle to secure this crucial position in between the two players over here. That would be a very, very nice forward position. And Project Belgium is dropping in military numbers really fast here, down to 12 halberdiers. Most of these are chilling in the north here. So there's basically nothing that Project Belgium has here to defend these Voyagers, and many of these Voyagers could bite the dust. If the crossbows just stop, then they will just slaughter all those Voyagers, and once again Project Belgium will be dropping beneath 100 Voyagers. The castle here will go up for both players. The question for Project Belgium is what is he going to be left with after that castle goes up, because he's down to 90 Voyagers. And more importantly, he is just cornered within his own base. And siege rams are already coming out. Project Belgium does have masonry on those castles, so those are going to be a little stronger. And he's doing an excellent job with the counter raids. The problem that he's facing right now is that he's just simply unable to stop the direct push that's coming from the opponent. So it is 136 Voyagers against 88, 52 army against 25. And there's already siege knocking down this castle. Project Belgium will probably soon get trapped as well by Komtan. And as I said, the counter raids are really nice over here, but that still doesn't change the fact that Komtan does have a very, very good access to gold, whereas Project Belgium does not. And here come the traps. Paladin could actually start running into the eco of Project Belgium, which is wide open over here now that he has consumed all the trees. And it's also worth noting that Project Belgium is also having a tough time securing wood for himself, because he's just so much cornered in here, and oftentimes you see games ending like this on this map, one player just getting cornered within his own base, as he's running out of stone right now, and he doesn't have the resource to buy stone for himself. So even though he has the appropriate amount of Voyagers to repair that castle, he doesn't have the stone to do that. And as I said, overall, Project Belgium is just being starved out of resources, and despite the fact that he's doing some nice job raiding, the problem that he's facing is that he just doesn't have any extra resources, and Komtan isn't going down that easily. This was a much, much cleaner game from Komtan than the previous ones were. He still had a lot of Voyage idle time if you take a look at here, so I would say that the macro was still better for Project Belgium. However, you can't deny that this was by far the best game from Komtan. The game plan was decent, the execution was alright as well, and really, he has stepped his game up compared to the first two games, especially, yeah, both games basically were pretty bad for Komtan. This was much, much cleaner in terms of execution, in terms of gameplay. So if he continues to play like this, I would think that he has like a small chance of making a comeback over here, but still, that's gonna be a tough one for him. But for now, he's going to settle with at least one game victory in this series. Portuguese will be lost for Project Belgium, and his opponent will be losing Persians, and that means that we're actually going into the first home map of Project Belgium. So let me actually go back and get that recorded game. And that is going to be, ladies and gentlemen, Project Belgium wants to play Islands against Komtan over here. That will be the final game of this series if Project Belgium wins this. So far, he has won one game on Komtan's home maps, and we will see what Komtan has left, and that's the scary part. Project Belgium lost his Portuguese, that's fine, but he still has Berbers available, he still has Vikings available. What does Komtan have for islands? And this is why I don't understand the Japanese pick there. It kind of feels like Komtan after first game, he said, okay, there is no way I'm gonna beat Project Belgium, and there is no chance for me to get to play islands here. That might be Komtan's mindset, because that's what I can imagine here. Otherwise, you would have picked Japanese on islands and Huns. Huns is one of the best civs for cross. It was the first pick that Komtan has had, and that's still available for islands, but Japanese would have been so much better on islands. In fact, if I wanted to criticize the draft of Komtan, one thing I would say is that you don't have a clear water civ for islands. Italians was banned, Portuguese was taken by Project Belgium, so were Vikings, but you could have still gone, for example, earlier Portuguese could have worked out fine, Berbers could have worked out fine, that was a late pick from Project Belgium. So there were options, but Komtan kind of just didn't go for them, sort of. Anyways, let's go into the fourth game of the series over here. So let's get going with that. And once again, especially because it's islands, it is completely something that I can justify to just speed through Dark Age and discuss things from Feudal Age, basically. So, we'll have Project Belgium playing as Vikings on the left side in blue, so he's keeping Berbers for the final home map of his, which we don't know what it is because, as I said, they didn't post the map draft. Other side will be an interestingly shaped island for Komtan. Pretty unlucky with that map generation, to be honest. Like, this gold mine is bad, this gold mine is good, these woodlands aren't amazing, and like this part of his island is pretty much useless. Whereas Project Belgium is a slightly smaller island, but it's bulkier. The gold mines are a little safer, even though this one is also pretty bad overall. So not a great map for either players. And we'll have a back dock here from Komtan, who is playing a Celts. And as I said, he could have kept Japanese for this map, and I'm not sure why he didn't just go for Huns on cross and go Japanese on this map. I kind of feel like what he thought is that, okay, I'm not going to be Project Belgium. And I'm just gonna use my Japanese on a cross. In the meanwhile, I was sort of expecting a Celts landing over here because Celts will not really have a sustainable... Never mind. This is gonna be the least sneaky landing in the history of landings, ladies and gentlemen. He looped all the way around because if you take a look at Komtan's scouting, I think he just realized that his island is looking like this. I think he thought that his island ends like here and Project Belgium is like over here. But no, he wasn't. And oh boy, he drops off the Voyager, but Project Belgium will notice and he already is ready to react. Oh man. I'm not sure if this is a cause or a symptom for Komtan, so I'm not sure if he's doing this because he's left with Celts on this map because he doesn't have Japanese available anymore. Or he actually had this plan originally developed for this map, so that he's just playing Celts landing, but come on, it's so predictable. I mean, Celts will not be able to sustain a water fight. Oh, it's a fast castle landing. Interesting, a stone-selling fast castle landing for what wants to be a Hoang Rush. Now, the fast castle landing is actually a very, very good idea. You have seen in 2v2 World Cup, I think it was in the finals, Lix did that on Team Islands, and he did that with Teutons. And one thing that he got with Teutons is that he also had like 1 extra melee armor on his knights, and he also had conversion resistance for those knights. So this is a fast castle landing. This is actually a nice game plan from Komtan. And now I see the Celts. And I'm starting to believe that it wasn't a mistake from him picking Celts here. He just, you know, intentionally picked Celts because he knew that he wants to Hoang Rush on this map. And the thing is that Hoang Rush can be easily punished by counter-attacking the attacking player's eco, right? But that's not really a case on islands. Now, Komtan is going to lose fishing eco here. He's got no ships to defend this one, so that's -5 fishing eco for him. And here comes the stable though, as Project Belgium wisely starts dropping outposts. He probably expected his opponent to try another landing after this landing failed over here. And this is still going to be tricky for Project Belgium because that stable is likely going up. Yeah, that stable is gonna go up. So knights will be coming in. Project Belgium will pull all the Voyagers to wall this one in potentially until the first knights come in. And I think Komtan kind of has to cancel that scout and make knights. And he also needs to make sure that this doesn't get walled in. One of the ways that you can do this is place your own houses here. Because if you place your own buildings, your opponent won't be able to place his buildings over there. And that would prevent Project Belgium from walling in this structure. That being said, Project Belgium is still far from walling this one in. The scout gets poked down pretty easily, but Archer's on the way as well. And if the Voyagers get cleaned up, this push isn't worth anything because there will be no Siege Workshop to support as Komtan is trying to sneak a Voyager out there. The first knight pops out, but as I mentioned before, early Spearmen are actually pretty reasonable at dealing with knights until the Spearmen are actually attacking the knights, and in the meanwhile this Voyager is gonna get denied, and that's the key thing. 2 Voyagers left, and the transport is gone. In fact, Komtan doesn't have a safe dock over here. Now he's getting a couple fire galleys out, But if he loses the Vultures over here, and it seems like that's the case, it is going to be nearly impossible for him to make any push happen over here. And behind this, Project Belgium is a crazy fish boom because he realizes that, hey, Komtan is not pushing me on water. It's going to be a very, very easy fish boom for me. It's 43 eco against 27. Also, wheelbarrow, double bidax. It seems like this was the original plan now for Komtan, just wanted to go for Hoang Rush on water, but Project Belgium reacted to this one so well. And honestly, if this wasn't with Celts, I would have said this is a good idea, or at least something that I can justify. The thing is that Celts are a little too predictable over here. So, when I looked at Celts, I was like, you're not gonna fight on water with Celts against the Vikings. Or at least not something that you can sustain. You should be able to do that if you really want in Feudal and maybe even early Castle, but not something that you can sustain in the long run. If you actually did this with, per se, Portuguese, this would be a completely different scenario, because that would actually have an element of surprise involved in it. Now it is Project Belgium. He is just slowly getting scouts out on the field to deal with the Scorpions, and the thing is that he's got Spearmen to deal with the Knights, and most importantly, his eco, like the majority of his eco, like the fishing part, is just completely untouchable. And that's a huge advantage that Project Belgium is having right now. He reacted nicely at pulling the Vultures. Komtan will attempt another push over here, but there is still no siege to back this one up. And there is also no pikemen or spearmen to deal with the scouts over here. That's actually a very, very nice move from Project Belgium, trying to snipe down the Scorpions, even though he could have just gone for the Vultures. I think if he goes for the Veils, that's actually worth it more. Now he's bringing in the Vultures as well to deal with the Scorpion. Just kill the Vultures so there is no more repairs. I don't know why he's not doing that. Now he's going to finish that Will off though. And with that, Komtan is going to be behind by 22 Vultures. He had a very, very all-in-like play in the first game that didn't work out. This is also like that, and that's also going to be a failure here because even though he's got a couple of fire guys over here and he actually killed a Vulture, Project Belgium will just be able to clean this one up with 1 or 2 demos or galleys. And surprising it is the fact that Project Belgium is not actually going for Castle Age. However, if you're Project Belgium, what you consider is making a transport yourself. You could make a transport and just transport a couple of scouts to the opponent's island. And Komtan does have no defense back at home over here. We have a very, very interesting and weird dance over here from the Vultures that will now be interrupted by this woman here. So there is still 2 fire galleys from Komtan, but that's all his navy. So really Project Belgium just needs a couple of galleys and he will be able to clean it one up. That being said, here comes the demo and it's gonna connect very, very nicely. There is still another fire ship over here, but normally I wouldn't say it's an ideal situation that you lose that demo to trade off, but you might as well do that if you're Project Belgium right now. There is still Knights on the field and Scorpions to try and pick off the Spearman, but Project Belgium's eco is so good that he's able to afford taking bad engagements. Now getting a market up, and I guess he's going to sell some stone potentially, and he will try to go up to Castle Age. If Project Belgium reaches Castle Age here, that's game over, because he's gonna have like a 20 Vultures lead over his opponent in Castle Age. Komtan's eco is like awful. Like, look at this. Lumberjacks very far away from the wood line. Vultures also walking all the way around. Vultures being stuck. Only 3 Vultures on food, so you can't even sustain Vulture production. This is like pretty much a Hoang Russian Islands, but something that does a less damage, way less damage. And indeed, Project Belgium, some massive market usage over here. And now he goes up to Castle Age. As I said, if he gets to Castle Age, this is game over because he's gonna be able to get a couple of Knights himself. And for him, it's much easier to replenish the lost Knights than it is to do that for Komtan, who has essentially no eco. Crazy amount of gold is required to buy some food here for Komtan. So you can see he's using the market really heavily over here. Going for this Castle Age all in play. But Project Belgium 150 away from reaching Castle. Viking Cavalry isn't super great, but he's got +1/+1 on those scouts. One stable went down, but as long as the other one is alive, I think Project Belgium is fine in this one. And I would think that 6 Vultures being left on stone and 476 stone in the bank, for me tells that Project Belgium will want the castle here. And one of the ways that you can actually stop a Hoang Rush is by making defensive castle. Plus, Berserks will be amazing against everything that the Hoang Rush can bring them. So Berserks are pretty good against Knights, Berserks are amazing against these early siege weapons. Berserks are actually very, very good as well at dealing with potential pikemen whatsoever. There's a ram now coming in, Komtan takes down another building, so Project Belgium loses a barracks. I think he might be able to squeeze in pikeman upgrade for himself as well. He's got all the spearmen garrisoned inside the town center so that he's able to heal them up. And now Compton is moving on the second stable. As I said, this is looking scary for Project Belgium, but it's actually not. He knows that he has water. He knows exactly, although he just lost a couple of fishing ships over here to a fire galley that he didn't notice. So you can see that Project Belgium is too busy microing on land, and that is actually going to be a little sloppy from Project Belgium. At the end of the day, the villager KD is absolutely even, and as I said, Project Belgium is actually getting close to dropping a castle over here. This stable is going to go down. The question is the pikeman. The pikeman will pop at some point. There will be a mangonel as well, and Project Belgium will want to take one decisive engagement. So he's waiting for the mangonel to pop. When the mangonel pops, he's going to take down the scorpions, then unleash the pikemen. And there is going to be even a monastery. Now come the knights, pikemen pop out as well, and scouts will actually hit the scorpions. And the mangonel is almost ready as well. I think that's the end of the story for Komtan over here, because that's his entire push. That's just gonna get annihilated. There is no villagers to repair the siege weapons anymore. So as inefficient as this was for Project Belgium, this still seems like a game over here, because now Project Belgium has 51 villagers, 36 for Komtan, and Project Belgium can make a couple of longboats. He can start harassing this wood line. He can actually clean up the fire galleys inside his eco, which is something that should have happened earlier, but I guess he was busy not dying. And Project Belgium could just drop a defensive castle and stall this push out completely. Like, castle here would be pretty much rendering that entire push useless. And then he could also do a counter landing. Here comes the castle from Project Belgium. And let's see if there is a transport on the way. If it transports a couple of knights around, that's also... Like, this game is technically already over, because I don't see a win condition here for Komtan. He went for a Castle Age all-in play here, but a Castle Age all-in is called an all-in because there is no recovery after that fails. So, yeah, Project Belgium is going to have to replace his docks over here, so he's going to have a little bit more fishing efficiency, but it's 55 eco compared to 37, and as I said, Project Belgium controls the waters. There is another transport from Komtan. So he's not giving up on this one just yet. I think he wants to transport these units all the way around and to the back of Project Belgium's eco, but this transport may actually get intercepted by these galleys over here, so that could be another added failure. And even if these units actually get here, transport... No, it's villagers only. It's villagers only, but they'll bump into the galleys here. So Project Belgium will actually be able to spot that transport. Compton... There is no escape from that, especially now that longboats are coming. He may be able to drop off the villagers, though. That's the best thing that he can hope for, being able to drop off the vills. And that's exactly what's going to happen. But now the longboats could even take down the scorpions. That could be something as well. Battering ram now coming in here to clean up the siege weapons. Once again, Project Belgium is playing this one pretty safe. So wants to make sure that... as the monk is going to get picked off. That was a little bit sloppy from Pagum. But loses a scorpion is Compton. And more importantly, as I said, Project Belgium plays this safe. He wants to clean that siege workshop up before doing anything to the opponent's island. He could just go for a counter landing right away, but instead he says, okay, whatever, I need to make sure that my own island is clear. I'll be playing with 2 town centers and all the food eco in the world. He's even floating a lot of wood, as this fire galley is just chilling over here. Like, Compton is streaming in fire galley after fire galley to try and hit Project Belgium's fishing eco, and truth being told, Project Belgium has lost all but 4 of his fishing ships, which is extremely sloppy. Like, that should have never happened. Anyways, these villagers are trying to escape over here, but the monastery goes down really fast over here. There's no tools for that monk to kill that ram. And there is one cav archer, a famous Viking cav archer over here, coming in from Project Belgium, and that could completely kill those villagers unless it is idle at a different part of the map. Now Compton is making a dock here to potentially push on water or something. But as I said, now Project Belgium can start getting those longboats over here to control the shoreline, deny that gold mine. And these villagers will also go down, so will the monastery. And from this point on, Project Belgium is just sitting on a 14 villagers lead. That being said, I feel like Project Belgium could have had a lot more lead in terms of economy had he not lost all his fishing ships to just a couple of fire galleys. So this would be a much better eco for Project Belgium, but still... he's now going to be able to enter the next stage of the game. The push has completely died out, so now the question is who's controlling water, and the answer is, I think, pretty obvious. And University coming in here for Ballistics as well for Project Belgium. He still has the Vikings full eco with the farming, and that means that Imperial Age is not a distant dream for him either. And I could also see him making a couple more Knights or Berserks and landing on the opponent's island. In fact, the first thing that this dock might do could be a transport as well. We'll see if that's the case. Project Belgium definitely is thinking about landing now. Indeed, he's selling wood, and on the way to Imperial he will be. And even if he wasn't in a position to go into Imperial, I think he would be winning this one. And indeed, Komtan tapping out, saying GG's, good luck next. It seemed like he wasn't confident in his chances of winning when he's playing Standard against Project Belgium, because he went for an all-in on Arabia, he went for an all-in over here, and honestly, from what I've seen from Compton, I think that that is somewhat justified. Project Belgium seems to be a mechanically better player overall, but as you've seen the Bay game, it's not like Compton was outplayed that badly, so at least he could have attempted playing Standard, hoping that he can actually catch Project Belgium off guard. But anyways, Project Belgium is the next player to advance to the round of 32s in Hidden Cup 4 qualifiers. Komtan leaves with a 3-1 scoreline over here, and we will see Project Belgium in the next round. Thank you so much once again if you were sticking with me. Hopefully you have enjoyed, and we are almost done with all the round of 64 qualifiers, and obviously I will be casting round of 32s as well, mostly on Twitch live, but I will be getting those recordings into YouTube here as well, so you will be able to rewatch them whenever it is convenient for you. So thank you so much, and have a nice day. See you next time.